Calaroga Shark Media.
Hey there, I'm Johnny Mac with your daily comedy news, and look, I've tried. I did everything I could, but if you guys are going to watch Adam Sandler comedies on Netflix, they're going to keep making them. Happy Gilmore 2, 46.7 million views. Slightly more people consume that than consume this podcast. 46.7 million views in just 3 days. That made Happy Gilmore 2 the biggest U.S. opening weekend ever for a Netflix film, and Adam Sandler's best Netflix debut. So if you're going to watch it and Netflix is going to pay Adam Sandler to make these, they're going to keep making them. He's not going to make Uncut Gems 2 if you keep watching this crap. People are starting to pay a lot of attention to Bill Burr's interview with Vulture from last week on the Good One podcast. Burr said specials aren't just specials, some of them are transitional. So someone will be like, oh, I really like Paper Tiger, but then Red Rocks wasn't quite as good. That was more of a transitional special because I was in the middle of undoing a lot of stuff about myself. There's specials where you're catching somebody sort of mid-stride. They haven't planted that foot or where they're going to be. So I'm excited about my new hour that I'm writing because this one is more of my self-examination, but my worldview is apolitical and it's trying to bring people together. I'm trying to do the opposite of what's going on out there because I feel like we're going to have a civil war if we're not careful. When I was growing up, everybody hated the Russians. Now people hate California or Florida or New York or Texas, and it's like, guys, we're on the same team. People can have different opinions. I don't know. I think what this country needs now is a leader. At that point, the Good One podcast asked, are you the leader? No. I'm talking about politics. This whole leading by dividing that's been going on for the last few decades is going to pull a country apart if they're not careful. The level of corruption with all these politicians and how much money they're making from the people who poison our food supply. I mean, are they going to hook up with the pharmaceutical people? Like your job is to go out here and eat poison or get sick, buy the drugs, stay alive long enough, make your claim, have it denied after you paid insurance, then die, and have all that debt passed on to the people. And I can tell you right now, the people doing that are not illegal aliens. Bill is not happy with Ben Shapiro saying that Burr has become woke. He doesn't even know what the word means. His definition of woke is white liberals. They don't even know what it was. They just took the word from black people. That's the worst thing about our people. Not only do we take from other cultures, we don't even take the time to understand the definition. He went there to be annoyed so he can have something to talk about and then he can make money off dividing his own country. Those people, it's treasonous what they do. The fact is, it worked for what his goal was, for it to become a thing online where a certain portion of the right complained about how you're woke. Racist, they're racist. Let me drop the half-ass impression here because this next point is, so Bill Burr says, they send pictures of monkeys to me and my wife. They're effing horrible people and they're cowards. They never say it to your face. There's an ugliness out there right now where if you're a racist, if you're an anti-Semite, if you're a psycho-nationalist and you want a softball interview, there's podcasts out there where you can get one and they'll laugh at you for your bad jokes and give you the pass. There's a really ugly thing going on out there and we've already seen what it does to a nation. It's not the way to go. Then Vulture said, people on the left have been really embracing you and sharing videos of you. And Burr said, no, that's not true, dude. It's not true. It's common sense on both sides. We keep doing this stuff where we're like, oh, the right's all effing racist. And dude, the left is some of the most of the left feels like if they have a black friend, they don't have issues. I'm out of that. I don't want to hear any more left and right crap. They're all effing nuts. Me too, where it went from people shouldn't sexually assault people absolutely to I don't like what you're talking about in your act was nuts. It was McCarthyism on the left, and the left was so effed up that the psycho right thinks they're in the middle, and they're not. They're out of their effing minds. Burr continued, and I travel, dude, and I'm telling you, people who lean right and left are chill, and they're just sitting in the middle like, when is everyone going to calm the F down? When is this going to go back to live and let live? I have people from construction workers to hairy-legged chicks with nose rings going, hey, I like what you're saying out there about these billionaires, because that's the problem. The other problem is people make it like it's political. Like, if you vote for this color tie, those billionaires are somehow going to grow a heart. And it's just not the case. It isn't. That's on the Good One podcast, Vulture's podcast. I'll continue to pick away at that one. Let me forward promote Saturday. Mike Chisholm from the Letterman podcast and I had a long conversation. I haven't checked with Mike. I imagine it'll be the Letterman podcast on Friday, but it will be this podcast on Saturday. And we talked about all things late night. Very good conversation. When we wrapped up, we'd gone just about an hour and a half, and I couldn't believe how long we had been talking. I can talk to that guy forever. Jon Stewart on his own podcast was giving Jay Leno some crap, and that's one of the topics I got into with Mike Chisholm on the Letterman podcast. Jon Stewart got annoyed at Jay Leno's comments about being less partisanship in late night. Stewart said, this is them trying to police and create rules they would never follow. That's how Fox is popular. That's how any of these people, they all talk about Gutfeld. And by the way, Gutfeld on Fallon tomorrow night. They all talk about Gutfeld. It's the most popular. I'm struggling here because I'm trying not to slip back into Burr. I have to remember I'm doing Jon Stewart here. I'm not trying to do anyone right now, but that Burr cadence, I'm kind of locked into it. Let me take a breath and just try and speak normally. Jon Stewart said, that's how any of these people, they all talk about Gutfeld. It's the most popular. He's not popular because he's a both sides guy. He's relentless. And after a day of watching Fox News and being bathed in their very purposeful propaganda, it's a great way to top off the night. If you look at the social media profile of all the people that complain about the left-wing bias, they're all right-wing influencers. They all make their money. Their entire economy is based on how willing they are to attack and defame and to crush liberals. The whole thing is BS. Have you met the chairman of the FCC? He's like crap-posting Colbert. He's probably right now on a search for more right-wing billionaires that can buy up more of these properties because there's going to be an acquisition and merger spree for these kind of things. Mark Maron had some opinions on podcasts. Mark Maron was on CNN. I'll let Mark speak for himself.
We were there at the beginning, and it is a medium that anyone can really do, that can throw their hat in the ring. And I think as it's evolved and into video, people have been able to set up their own little show business empires. So, like any medium, it can be used for bad or evil. So what are you going to do? But it is the way the media landscape is working. Look, there's a sort of cultural malignancy to it in some ways, but in some areas, people are doing really interesting stuff.
I have been enjoying the heck out of Dusty Slay's opinions about country music. Rolling Stone asked Dusty Slay, what do you think makes for a good country song? Dusty said, sometimes it's a good story, but I think voice plays a big, big role. I love a good, deep voice. Mine is shot right now because I just talked to Mike Chisholm for an hour and a half. Dusty said, I have a joke where I say a good country song will have you reminiscing about times you never had. And I think about that Brooks and Dunn song, Brand New Man, where he's talking about how basically he's been running around with all these women and how he's met a woman and it's changed his life. I was probably 8 years old and ready to settle down. I was like, I need to change my ways. And I'd never even done anything, but I think that's what good country does. Dusty talked about the Brooks and Dunn song, Hard Workin' Man. Dusty said, I love the song and I'm listening. And basically he's complaining about how he can't get ahead in life. He's working so hard he can't get ahead, but he reveals to you in the song why he can't get ahead. And this guy, this character, I feel like they're writing about a character, is a guy who's complaining about how he never has any money. But if you look at his own personal finances, you're like, well, you're spending all your money and you know how you're doing it. Speaking about spending money, Colin, Jost, and Pete Davidson spent it on a ferry. The New York Post reported that Jost, Davidson, and their partner, comedy club owner Paul Italia, may owe $13,500 to a downtown law firm. That law firm filed a lawsuit, something to do with dockage and towing contracts from when the comedians and their partner bought the original ferry. A source told the New York Post, Jost and Davidson, quote, were unaware of this as they don't handle the day-to-day business operations of the ferry. Out on Amazon Prime Video today, The Pickup, starring Pete Davidson and Eddie Murphy. The logline, a routine cash pickup, takes a wild turn when mismatched armored truck drivers Russell and Travis are ambushed by ruthless criminals led by savvy mastermind Zoe, played by Keke Palmer. As chaos erupts, the unlikely duo must navigate danger, clashing personalities, and one very bad day that keeps spiraling out of control. The Daily Beast sure didn't think the movie was good. Their review said it's been decades since Eddie Murphy made an honest-to-goodness funny movie. Wait till they find out about Adam Sandler. And The Pickup won't break that dispiriting streak. It's going straight to Prime Video, although in a just world, it would just be released on DVD and sent directly to a big box retailer's bargain bin. This heist comedy is a half-baked throwaway that's so busy staging third-rate action sequences that it forgets to concoct a single passable joke. Wow, I can't believe Pete Davidson got the role and not Sandler. Most of the reviews I've seen are in that vein. Late Nighter reporting The Daily Show is off for 5 weeks. The Late Nighter has a take. I have a slightly different take. Late Nighter says, though the timing is sure to raise eyebrows, it sure did. You know, Stephen Colbert and all that. If you're this far into this podcast, you know what's going on there. Desi Leidick on last Thursday's show said, just to let you guys know, we're going on a production break for August, which was planned months and months ago. So don't freak out. Have a great summer, and we'll see you in September when we can all freak out together. Late Nighter says it's not the first time the show did that. When Trevor was hosting in 2021, they took 3 months off. between the end of the daily social distancing show and the show's return in September to a proper show. All right, I don't think that's exactly the same. In 2015, the show took a 7-week break between the end of Stewart's run and Trevor Noah's debut. I don't think that's the same. Comedy Central is filling the time slot with repeats of other shows, for example, The Family Guy and South Park. Now, my take here, and Late Nighter is much more educated in this than I am, but my take, weren't we told during Colbertgate that the reason for the timing, that they had to make the decision right then and there, was because the contracts come up in August for like the writers and stuff? So the last show of The Daily Show before the 5-week break was Thursday, July 31st. And then August rolled around. They're like, oh yeah, we're on a 5-week break. So my question, is everybody being paid for the 5 weeks? Because CBS, Paramount, whatever they are, Skydance, because the parent company's cool like that. So yeah, you guys can have 5 weeks off. Enjoy your summer, maybe. Or are people not being paid for 5 weeks? And if I divide 52 by 5, that's around 10%. And I don't think The Daily Show does a show every week of the year. So is this like a secret 15% budget cut? Perhaps, maybe, possibly. Or I might just be talking out of my hat. I have no facts. I'm just a guy in the basement. Stephen Colbert is going to appear in the upcoming Season 3 episode of Elsbeth, which runs on CBS. Stephen Colbert will play a talk show host in the October 12th episode. Stephen plays the host of a fictional late-night talk show called Way Late with Scotty Bristol. Colbert's episode was just recently filmed. However, the idea has been floating around for months. Interesting timing. Eric Idle was asked by The Guardian, what comedian from any time do you believe would have complimented the Pythons ensemble? Great question. The answer, Dan Aykroyd, because he was a writer and a performer and could melt his ego into a crowd. On the whole, we didn't try to upstage each other on Python. You were supportive. The Pythons do tend to fight. The Guardian was curious if any of the Pythons get royalties from Spamalot. Eric Idle said, they get more effing money than they've ever been grateful for. They got effing millions and they're miserable and horrible and bitchy about it. I spent 20 years working for Python and then 2 years at the O2 show. They were there for 2 weeks. I'm not really motivated by money, to be honest. Anyway, the producers get all the effing money and divide it up according to the contract. Someone sued us for years saying I was paying the Pythons money from my back pocket. And I said, why would I risk going to American jail to give John Cleese more money? Let me tell you about some comedy specials I liked. Mark Maron's new one is fantastic. It feels like a comedy special. Like back in the day when HBO would roll out a special every now and then, and it felt big and it's shot properly and it's in a theater and the comedian has something to say. That's Mark Maron's special. Oh, I got to add it to my rankers here. Let me open up that file. I'm going to put it at number 4 overall, and it's the best special of the year. So my top tier right now is the Conan Mark Twain Prize by a mile. Shane Gillis's ESPN monologue, I have a 2. Tom Segura's Bad Thoughts at 3. First stand-up special on my list is Mark Maron's new one, and then Shane Gillis Tires at 5. Number 6 in the stand-up tier would be Justin Willman's Magic Lover, and I'll go over the list some other day. But Maron, I thought, was just fantastic. I said this already on this podcast. He's got something to say, and I think that makes such a huge difference. Don't want to spoil any of it. Absolutely watch it. Then I put on Dusty Slay's new one, which is on Netflix, and I like Dusty a lot. It sounds like I'm about to bash it. No, this is a good special. My hesitation is I think he had 2 specials worth of material. I'm looking here at my ranker. I'm going to slot it after Justin Willman, but ahead of Bert Kreischer. So that would be my 3rd best special of the year and the 7th funniest thing overall. Dusty's just doing rat-a-tat jokes. I like that style. The problem with that style, whether it's Stephen Wright or Mitch Hedberg or Dusty Slay, your brain fatigues after a while. So Maron is telling stories and there's an arc to it. Dusty's just up there shucking jokes, and as he says, we're having a good time, and we are having a good time. At an hour and change, maybe even longer, I think it would have been better served as 2 40-minute specials, but very, very, very good. Again, the Netflix stuff in comparison to, say, the HBO stuff, as I said earlier, the Maron felt like a special, and Dusty's, like a lot of them on Netflix, feel like somebody went to the mall and bought a comedy special off the shelf. It just doesn't feel as big, but it's definitely funny. I actually watched Dusty in 2 nights. Again, I think it was better as 2 40-minute specials, and that's the way I consumed it. After Dusty, I put on Veer Dawes, who I like a lot, did not like this special. 3.5 minutes in, I was struggling. I tried to hang in there. I made it maybe 5-6 minutes. Maybe that's an unfair review, but dude, we got a lot of things to watch out there, and I've only got limited time. Veer was just on somebody's podcast. Who was I listening to? Was it Good One? Yeah, maybe it was a good one. Whatever I was listening to. It was a really interesting interview about the special, but just as a special, just wasn't feeling it. Some things I am digging, not comedy. Department Q on Netflix, thumbs up. And I'm not a big wrestling fan. I watched it like every week when The Rock was red hot 25 years ago. But I put on the new thing they're promoting that's like how the sausage is made at wrestling events. Really, really good. I'm all into that one. That's the one that if you hang out with me in real life, I don't shut up about. So some other things for you to watch. Lloyd Evans wrote about The Fringe in The Spectator. Now, if you follow this podcast, no conversation about The Fringe is like, The Fringe is awesome. You should go and it's a good time and everybody's happy. It just seems like The Fringe is making everyone miserable. Lloyd Evans writes, every day my inbox fills with stories of panic, madness, and despair. The Edinburgh Fringe is upon us, and the publicists are firing off emails begging critics to cover their shows. Now, he comments about how comedy has changed. Their brochure is full of performers advertising their mental disorders as if they were badges of achievement. The Fringe once had a sense of freedom and danger. I used to head for a cramped little basement just off the Royal Mile where comedians performed from noon until midnight. No tickets, a bucket was passed around at the end of the show. Comedians showed up. They delivered 60 minutes of chit-chat and verbal swordplay. Often this involved singling out members of the crowd for good-natured abuse. Anyone with a sensitive temperament or, heaven forbid, an emotional disorder stayed away. There were no rules or special protections other than criminal law. I was there in 2010 when a comedian lost patience with a drunken heckler and headbutted him into the floor. After the bleeding victim was carried upstairs to a waiting ambulance, the next performer was called to the mic. She was an American with a delicate southern accent. Good evening, Edinburgh. I just stepped over a pool of fresh blood in order to reach the stage. Is that normal in Scotland? Yes, this is the Fringe we need back, not the one where we're complaining about how much the hotel is. Lloyd Evans continues in The Spectator. Back then, the Fringe specialized in monologues about mass murderers and war criminals. An actor would dress up as, say, Hitler, Stalin, or Jeffrey Dahmer and deliver an hour of bad taste jokes to a crowd of unshockable punters. That genre seems to have expired. Yet, right now, the world stage is full of controversial and even monstrous characters who are ripe for mockery. The satirists seem uninterested. Another casualty is the joke of the Fringe Award, whose sponsors have withdrawn their support. Last year's winner suggests that the pool of talent had all but dried up. The winner was, I was going to sail around the globe in the world's smallest ship, but I bottled it. Lloyd Evans writes, not great, but it's better than the winner from the previous year, which was, I started dating a zookeeper, but it turned out he was a cheetah. And he goes on and on. The premise, the Fringe used to be more fun. I've never been. VoiceMag.uk has been profiling some of the performers. They caught up with cabaret comedian Scott Durwood, who says his new show, Apocalypse Cabaret, Songs for the End of the World, is about a karaoke jockey who finds themselves the sole survivor of an apocalypse and commits to singing every song on the sign-up list. What are you excited about? First, the opportunity to do the same show 28 days in a row is huge, because an extended run like that is so physically exhausting it knocks you out of your head, letting your artist brain make intuitive decisions rather than always deferring to one's thinking mind. The second is Edinburgh is like going to camp where everyone shares your same obsession, and that obsession is live shows. Best advice you got about the Fringe? Assume the weather every day is going to be crappy, and if the sun ever does come out, you'll be so excited you won't know what to do with yourself. You can check out that show nightly at the Diary Room at the Underbelly, 9:20 p.m. Toronto went to see Ben Pope's The Cut. They write, for reasons it'd be a spoiler to explain, Ben Pope finds himself almost ungoogleable. The topic is about circumcision. Trudeau writes, what shines out most are the charmingly funny vocabulary he deploys and the quirky mental pictures he conjures up that exquisitely define a microphone, for example, or a CD. And I'm a day late on this, but I do want to acknowledge the passing of Loni Anderson. If you are of a certain age and if you worked in radio, you sure as heck loved WKRP in Cincinnati. Loni Anderson's Jennifer was the opposite of the dumb blonde stereotype, refusing to take dictation, type letters, or make coffee. Lonnie K. Anderson was born August 5th, 1945, was naturally dark-haired. She said, I love being a brunette. It was exotic. People weren't quite sure what nationality I was. There was a mystery. When acting, I could be the bad lady. Loni Anderson was 79. That is your comedy news for today. I'll see you tomorrow.